recording because I would suck if I was not recording. All right. Well, what is going on, everybody? It's your girl Pam with 2200 Taps. Hey, listen, we've had some good guests, incredible guests, some really wild guests. And one of my guests, Karalyn Martin, actually introduced me to this lovely lady who is also a veteran. And I can't wait to introduce her here in a second. But that's what I love about this family, this community of 2200 Taps supporters, mission, what have you. Now that the stories are rolling out on bigger platforms, people are, you're starting to kind of see the ripple effect of like, man, you're not alone, you got to get on the show. Or, hey, you're not alone, you got to listen to this episode. Or, hey, you would be a good fit for this podcast because they provide resources, trustworthy resources. And I got to tell you, I was doing a little background on this lady who is, like I said, she's a veteran. So she's a sister in arms. I can't wait to dig in because I have just a little bit of the coolest thing that she recently did, and I have nothing of her background. So I want to dive in quickly. So with that, I want to introduce you my next guest, Miss Bliven Roman. How you doing, Bliven?
Hello. I'm doing so awesome. Thanks for having me.
Totally. We're going to do the whole split screen editing, like cool
Love it.
effect. Hey, well, I thank you. First of all, Karalyn, thanks for getting us connected. We love you. And man, if y'all don't follow Karalyn Martin, follow her. I will put all the links, everything that we talk about, I will put them in the description below. So weird saying that now because this is like pre, and then I got to do that in post. So I better remember to do that. But again, Bliven, thank you so much for coming on today. I appreciate you.
Of course. I love podcasts in general. You have an incredible podcast. I think it's a great opportunity to share such a familiar story that people just don't speak about a lot, but they feel it themselves. So being able to have that platform that you provide is just it's a blessing, to say the least.
Thank you. It's evolved into something pretty damn special, and we're going to just keep going until we can't anymore. And even though we're going to find a way to keep going. So, but yeah, I was blown away. I want to talk about first, a little bit about your background, just as far as like how many, where you served, how long, and then I want to roll right into the Pinups for Veterans. And then I want to get into your story. Is that cool?
Okay. Yeah, that sounds great.
All right, go for it.
Yeah. So to tell you about myself, I am a 5-year Army vet. I was a combat medic, healthcare specialist, a 68 whiskey, did a lot of cool things. I was stationed out of Fort Riley, Kansas, got the opportunity to deploy during the global war on terrorism. And kind of my claim to fame is I was the first female line medic for the unit that I deployed with, which was for me insane. There were like hundreds of men and just little old me. And it was really hard to keep up with them. They couldn't stand me, but it was just this glass breaking experience for me. After deployment, I came back home and got married, started my family. And that's when my mental health journey started. And I'm sure we'll get into that. And it's actually the reason why I got out was to take care of myself, my needs, and to be the best mom, best wife, best human being that I could be possible. And I'm here today still serving, not active duty, but I'm serving our vets through raising or sharing my story of mental illness and letting our vets know that they're not alone and helping share some resources.
Totally. And I got to tell you, when I found out you were the first, because I did a little research, because I like to do my homework, but you were the first woman medic in that. I mean,
crazy.
When I served, I was usually the only woman in a whole bunch of, I was an engineer. So a diesel mechanic, which is male predominantly, well, just the military in general, right?
Yeah.
But then it's like, well, now it's you, so spotlight's on you. So how are you going to show up?
And it's so crazy because I learned very recently, I was talking to someone that I was online with, and he was a fister, and he was like, yeah, we hated you. I was like, go figure. Like, I know I'm not dumb. Here's this little girl who's like really trying hard to keep up on wrecking. And like, these guys are being stripped of their masculinity because this female has to take care of them. Like, I'm not silly. Like, I know it wasn't easy for you. It wasn't easy for me, of course, but it just felt so cool being the first of something, especially in 2013 when women weren't integrated into combat arms. And I just learned that they're getting their first combat arms NCOs at Fort Benning that are female.
Wow.
And
And
it
Fort
is just
Benning?
so crazy. At Fort Benning. Yeah. Fort Benning, Georgia.
Wow. See,
And it's wild.
see, but that, and I don't know why Betty White's coming to mind when you say that. I don't know why, and trust me, guys, stick with us because I'm not deviating too far. But Betty White was like a staple, right? And she was a first of many. She even served back in the day,
Mm-hmm.
and it takes women like her and you and some of us to break through those ceilings, like you say, right? Those glass ceilings where men aren't going to like you, or there's a stigma, or there's this, that, and the other. And okay, we get it totally. But it takes people like us or women out there to do that for more opportunities for women, for your kids, for my, I mean, for our girls, for just, I'm not going to get into politics about what's happening right now with women in sports, but you know where I'm talking about. And it's like, no, we need to, it's like, you know, you would die for your country, but it's like, you know, I would put my ass on the line for you.
Absolutely. And it's so crazy because you're willing to die for your country, but sometimes people aren't willing to like give you that opportunity. Do you know what I mean?
It's like catch 22.
Yeah.
I get it. I get it. But with that, opportunities, here's a cool little segue. Pinups for Vets.
Yes.
I had to do a little digging on them. I love their mission. I love what they do. Can you, because you were a part of it here recently with Karalyn, can you speak on what that was like for you real quick and what their mission is and just what that entails?
Absolutely. So the mission of Pinups for Vets is to raise funds for our VA hospitals, which we all know really, really need funding. So Gina Elise, the founder, wanted to make a difference in the lives of our veterans. She's not a veteran, but she has veterans in her family. So she decided to make these calendars, these beautiful calendars featuring female veterans. Awesome. It's great. And it's a really good opportunity for us to feel beautiful. But she makes these calendars, she sells them yearly. And the money that she raises goes directly to the VA programs to expand programs such as mental health, physical therapy. And also she gives equipment to the VA hospitals, something that's really awesome. She just donated equipment to the physical therapy unit at the Tampa VA, which is the unit that I go to pretty often. And so do all my other friends, because physical therapy in the military is much needed. But it's just really awesome to see that full circle. But to tell you about my experience with Pinups for Vets, I wanted to do something related to vets. I'm a vet. And in about 2016, I found her and she kind of handed me this opportunity to apply to be a part of the calendar. But with things like school, building families, and then COVID happened, it had been years to where I couldn't apply. But just last year, I kind of was like, it's now or never. If I don't do this year, I'm never going to do it. So just off of a whim, I applied knowing that I didn't have the funding to do that. I really didn't think I'd be able to fly out there, but I told myself I had to. And I was invited to come shoot with all the other ladies. And I just had a really great opportunity. I have a girl tribe through pageantry and they paid for my stay, which made it so much easier.
That's awesome.
And they knew it's something I really wanted, but I get there and it was just, to say a dream, it was a dream is just like, it's over the top, but because it was. I met 11 incredible women, and it felt like, well, a sisterhood. Everyone knows you meet a veteran, you automatically click. And here are these incredible women with the same experiences as me. And we got to share our stories and bond through that while being pampered, feeling like celebrities doing this shoot, and then doing a full news segment that just went absolutely.
I saw that.
It was insane. Cool. But it was a great opportunity to feel like I was a part of something, to feel important while making veterans feel important. So it's I get like goosebumps and so jittery when I talk about it because it was a once in a lifetime experience and I got that.
And it came out great, you guys. And
Oh
I'll
yeah.
put the link to the news footage and if it still works, hopefully I'll put the link down below.
Yeah.
And you guys look great. You guys look fantastic. It looked
We
really good.
loved it. And we got to choose our outfits, which was our favorite part. And then the outfits were sponsored. So we got to bring the outfits home. I don't know when I'm ever going to wear that outfit again, but I tell you what, I have it and I love it.
Your husband might want, to do some test trials on that one. So we'll see. I don't know. I mean, you never know. It might come out sooner or later. But no, good job with that. It was fantastic. It was really, really special and sweet to see that.
So awesome.
Well, and like I said, I'll put their link below. So bravo, man. It's a great mission.
I love it. And you know what's crazy is they sold out so fast after we did the NBC news segment. And the founder texted me. She was like, I don't know what to do. And I was like, that's the best thing to have. That's the best problem to have.
Make another batch.
It was crazy.
That's awesome. Well, cool. We're making really good progress. So I would like to really dive into your story. Okay.
Let's go.
So here's the good stuff, right? And like I tell my listeners, my guests, I'm not a therapist. I'm not a counselor. I don't try to be. I'm not going to sit here and be like, I'm the, I've got resources. No, that's bullshit. That's complete bullshit, to be honest with you. Because I don't do that. I love it. I go to therapy when I can. I believe in it. Disclaimer, I'm not a therapist, and I have to put that out there anyways.
Yeah.
We just provide a safe place to share these stories. You know what I'm saying? And if at any point you or any guest doesn't feel safe, let us know, and we'll have further discussion on that. But we haven't ran into that. We're here almost 30 something episodes, and I'm like, we're doing pretty damn good. So I just want to open the floor to you. I know Mission 22, the organization in itself, you're an ambassador for, but there's definitely a story there, and I'd love for you to kind of just give us a background on what happened, and ultimately what made you choose life, because that's what it's about, right?
Course.
So the floor's yours, my friend.
Well, my mental health journey it starts right before deployment. I knew I was going through something, and I wanted to make sure that my mind was ready and my body was ready to deploy. And and if you're in the military, before you deploy, you go to, Army goes to this place called SRP. They do a quick mental evaluation and they say you're good to go. The person who did my mental evaluation was a provider that I had been working for a long, long time. Fantastic provider. And he knew my story. He knew a lot about me, my relationship, and my family. And I really was just like, I don't know if I'm ready mentally to do this. So he said, well, you know what? Let's get you in before I check you off. Let's get you into mental health. Let's make sure you're good to go, because I don't want you going there and struggling. And that's what's supposed to be done. That's the perfect answer to one of those things. However, I had a NCO who had the ability to have that flag for mental health taken off. And instead of getting the opportunity to go be seen before deployment, by magic, as we call it, she said, no, you're good to go. Go ahead. We're going to deploy. And I was just like, all right, let's do this. So I wasn't ready. And when I deployed, a lot of things are going on in the background. I was in this for me, very serious relationship. And we're dealing with the distance. We're dealing with kind of drama, honestly. My father was back in the US and he was not doing so hot. And that was a struggle for me. And just the adapting to that new environment, being in Africa, my family's not there. It was hard. I struggled with depression really bad. And I attempted. No one ever found out. No one ever knew. And it really was still a surprise to my family and to my husband for years. Maybe 4 years ago, I was honest about that. I came back home, and the unit I was in, I told you, one of the only females, right? I was the only line medic, but I had female NCOs, and I was being bullied. And it sounds silly and childish to say I was being bullied as an adult, but that's what it is. silly and childish, being bullied. And that really took a toll on me and I struggled. I came home, had that hard time adapting to coming back to the US, didn't really know how to have an actual conversation with my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, because I'm so used to talking to the same people, usually military jargon. So I really didn't know how to talk to my husband. And that's where it really started to sink in that I was struggling and I never got the help for it. And it's because that environment that I was in made mental health sound like a taboo. When, and being very honest, the unit I was in, if you were seeing behavioral health, it was more of an excuse to get out of something than being seen for treatment. It was different. It's not like going to the clinic for like an owie or something. It was just, you look like what we call a shit bag.
Yep.
That was
know
really
exactly what you're
tough.
talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, it was tough. And I got pregnant. My husband and I decided to start a family. And here comes these bullies again. And it's just like, what the hell? We're like 24.
Well, let me back up real quick. Because,
Yeah.
like I said, we like to go deep, right?
Yeah.
What exactly what were you, if you can remember, what were you struggling with before your
So
deployment?
I was struggling with a lot of depression, just feeling lonely. And like, I wasn't a part of a team that the Army said it was going to be. I wasn't a part of this brotherhood, this sisterhood that I expected. I felt like the outcast in everything I did. I felt like I was constantly getting in trouble. I had people watching everything that I did. I could be talking to a male NCO and it was like, ooh, that's a married man, watch out. Like, it was just so silly. And I was struggling just with this like constant feeling of, I'm going to get my shit rocked for doing something normal. I was always on guard. So it was stuff like that I was struggling with. And just, I really didn't feel like I had somebody to rely on. And that's really important.
So how were your NCOs or those above you, your supervisors, bullying you? What did that look like?
Oh my gosh.
I'm asking because there's a story coming to mind that I went through.
Of course. Okay. So being one of the only females, it was when you're a female, and I'm just going to be straightforward, and you have males talking to you, people are going to think you're doing something wrong. You're doing something dirty. You're doing something sneaky. And that's the truth, especially if you have any like inkling of a past of having a relationship with somebody that is in your unit. They're going to crack down on you and they're going to make you feel really horrible. So I was constantly looked at as the barracks bunny or the slut of the unit.
Or the morale gear.
Yes. And it was so hard to be serious and be honest. And this specific NCO I had, it's easy to like give you ideas because she honestly was horrible to me. And I'm being honest. I'm not trying to paint her out as some fake, horrible NCO. It was the truth. She was tough on me.
Yeah.
And it wasn't very nice. And my best friend that deployed with me was my best friend for a very, very long time. That way that the NCO was acting started to rub off on her. And it was just like, what the hell is going on? I even had just people would be like, be careful with what you say around her. Be careful who you hang out around her, because behind your back, she's saying things. And it was just like, what's happening? This is high school or is this the United States Army? Like, let's get to it.
So you couldn't trust anybody, let alone your best friend. And guys, this isn't a bashing session. Like I don't want to bash people.
Yeah. This is just honest.
It's just, this is your story, you know?
Yeah.
But the thing is, you're also talking about a lot of stuff that doesn't get highlighted by the media, if you will. Like there's so much chaos when you're active duty. It's like, dude, you know, and there's really good things that come out of it and there's really crappy things that come out of it. And in between, it's like you have to fit in somewhere, you know? So I get what you're saying. I can put this pen down before I poke my eye out. I get what you're saying because I'm getting fired up because I'm getting fired up, man. Because
and you know what's crazy is there's so many people who experience the same thing. You can't say anything like this when you're in the military, though.
Why can't you? Tell me that real quick.
Because the fear of being like getting in trouble for it, that fear of if I call this person out, or if I say something to this person, to any other NCO, it'll come back around and bite me in the ass. And it's happened to me. And that's why there's that fear of reporting sexual harassment, sexual assault, the fear of reporting someone doing something wrong.
Yo, I'm getting goosebumps.
It's just the truth. And people don't want to talk about it. But guess what? I'm not in the military anymore. So I'm going to be honest. I'm going to talk about it because there's another person out there who's experienced the same thing that I'm experiencing. And they feel so lonely the way I felt lonely.
And that's the same. Yeah, I do know. And that's the same. that goes for mental health as well.
Oh, yeah.
Mental health. We're barely scratching the surface, guys. Let me ask you, okay, so you're in a crappy place. You ask for help. You're like, that's kind of brave if you think about it. When you're about to deploy, you're like, I don't know if I'm ready to deploy. Might need you to evaluate me. And I feel like I'm struggling. You know, that right there takes guts, especially when you're active duty. And then you still get deployed because of whatever, something happened, the magic. And then you deploy, and then you experience mistreatment. You experience a lot of bullying, which I get. But then you can't talk to anybody. You can't trust anybody. So in kicks in your depression, in kicks in your mental health, kicks in your attempt. May I ask what you did when you attempted?
Yes, absolutely. Because it sounds, for me, it was the hardest thing to talk about at first because it was such a silly mistake. I wanted to take as much melatonin as I could to put myself to sleep forever. And here's the thing that I didn't know, and I should have known because I was a medic. Melatonin will not kill you at the way that I took it. I popped a whole pack of melatonin and I slept. And I remember waking up that morning and saying, fuck, like this didn't work.
Couldn't even do that right.
And that's just, I mean, that's the hard part is trying to commit. And then you wake up and you're like, God damn it. Like I have to live another day with this. Like, and you know, it was hard for me to tell that story for a long time because in my mind, I always would say, I was so stupid. I mean, I was stupid for attempting, but I was like, I'm so stupid because it didn't work. And that's so embarrassing. But
that's what happened.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a guy in basic, he hung himself. Thankfully he lived, but he was in rough shape. And we had another guy take an entire box of Sudafed.
Oh,
it's so weird, man. It's like, and I'm not trying to put ideas in anybody's heads. It's not what it's about. Yeah. But you start looking at the way people have done it or just how bad you were hurting.
Yeah.
You will find any and every way to do it. But we don't want you to, people. That's not what we need you to stick around. But I want to really hit on that, right? So you hit your dark place. And I would imagine there's a lot more to the story, just kind of building up from like your childhood and what have you. There's so much there. When you felt like you needed to get help, did you reach out for it when you're active duty?
The second time, because that was my first of 2 attempts. The second time I did. But it was kind of one of those things where it's like, it was a little too late. I made the mental health appointment and they were like, okay, you'll come in on I can't remember what day it was. I think it was a Friday or Thursday or a Friday. It was definitely the 16th, but on the 15th, I was like, I can't do this anymore. And my husband was home, his grandmother was home, and my 3-month-old daughter, or 3-month-old, oh my gosh, 3-month-old daughter was home. And I was just like, I can't do this. And I attempted to hang myself in my closet, but that bar was rotating. I couldn't get a good grip on it. Sorry to be so honest.
Don't apologize.
And I remember hearing my husband come walking upstairs. I was like, oh shit. And I stopped, and I remember I didn't tell him. And I called my friend, or I texted her and I said, Melissa, I'm going to behavioral health in the morning because I'm about to deploy again. I'm not ready. I need to go to behavioral health. She said, are you okay? And I was like, lie, I'm fine. She said, do you want to talk? And I was like, lie, nope. And that's kind of how it was. I wanted help. I so desperately wanted the help. And asking for the help, I did. It wasn't that I wanted to die necessarily. I didn't want to live, if that makes sense. Not really, but
No.
that's how
Well, I wanted to kind of back up
all right.
before it's like wanting to leave my brain, and I don't want to do that. What were you afraid of? What were you so afraid of that you lied and you're like, I'm good, but you wanted help so bad? What were you afraid
I
of?
was afraid that she would have called 911. And now here's this ambulance coming for me. And it was still a secret to everyone in my house that I was struggling with depression. And if she called 911, it was just like my husband would be like, why are they here? And it would have just been like a very like obvious thing is going on. And I didn't want her to call. And there had been times where my husband was like, after the fact, where I was still struggling, my husband was like, we got to go. And I was like, please, no, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. Like, let's just like sit through it. Like, it'll get easier. Like, I'll get over this feeling tonight. I just didn't want the horse and pony show of people making it very obvious.
So how is that working for you?
Today,
No, before.
it wasn't. I mean, it sucked, to be honest. And I struggled with suicide for months and months. It was at the point where my husband, I didn't text him back for 2 hours and he panicked. He came to my work and was like, and we used to work together. And he came to the conference room. He was like, hey, can you guys get out? And everyone got out and he closed the door. And he was like, I can't do this. He was like, I love you, but I can't do this. So we're going to have to talk about you getting out. He was like, I'm not comfortable with not hearing from you for like 30 minutes because I don't know if I'm going to show up at home for lunch and you're dead. And that was the truth. And that was the life I was living. Just constantly, like I was constantly thinking about death. I was constantly thinking about different ways to take my life. And it was just really upsetting. And it was almost to the point where it was ruining my husband's life. And we had to just come up with, for me, the easiest way to heal. And that was for me to get out of the environment that was making this like so hard for me.
So did you feel safe enough to go to your command and be like, I need to get help?
No.
Okay.
And well, my command was deployed.
Okay.
And, I had two of the greatest friends who were reared with me. My best friend, Melissa, and one of the closest male friends I've ever had, Kaiser. And we were just buddies. And the way they treated me when they found out I attempted was nothing different. And it was the best feeling that they didn't judge me. They were there for me and they wanted to make sure people didn't ask questions. But, I'm glad you brought up the command because I was thinking about it while I was getting ready this morning. It killed me to know that my first sergeant did not call or check up on me, ask questions about me, because my first sergeant was somebody I looked up to, somebody that I would consider, a professional father figure. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Someone I really admired. And to know that he didn't even have the balls to say, how are you doing? Completely, it just destroyed me. I was like, how could you not? My top commander, like my battalion commander, did check up on me, not personally, but he had asked people how I was doing. But they just I felt like no one gave a shit, to be honest.
Well, because we don't talk about it. I know, yeah. 2013, I was still in, but I was a reservist at that point.
Yeah.
I did 9 active, 2 reserves. But when I was active duty, I enlisted in 2003, back in what we call the old guard. And you just didn't talk about, I remember they gave me a toothbrush to clean an engine valve cover one time when I was like a little E3, and I'm like, what the fuck is this, you know? But I like, you sucked it up, you did what you had to do, and
Absolutely.
guess what? If you're struggling, it was like, yeah, you can go ask for help, but you might not have a job tomorrow. There was that stigma, and
absolutely,
and we'll get to that here in a minute because I got a little something I'd like to send you. Our short film that we created, Damned If I Do, about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because man, like I'm so like I want to get in front of a freaking command. I want to get in front of whoever up in DC and be like, listen, mother truckers, like you have got to give us a safe place to be able to deal with this shit.
Yes.
Or we're gonna keep losing people.
I've always I speak to, excuse my dog, she's crazy, but I speak to a lot of people, especially military people. I've always wanted to speak to leaders, NCOs, commanders, about my experience and what I think could have gone better in my experience. And maybe they can take away from that and apply that to maybe their soldiers. But you also have to think, if I brought this story to a command, what would they think of me? What would they be like? She's being honest and open, or is she just another shitbag that wants to like make it easier for the shitbags?
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what's hard about it. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. But someone has to do something.
Oh my God, you are hitting on this. That's why.
Yeah, because it was my life. I completely get it. Yeah.
That's why we named it Damned If I Do. Because it's like,
oh, really?
That's the name of the short film, Damned If I Do.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
I'll send it to you here, but not to get too far off your story. I'm going to rein it in a little bit. Excuse me. So you couldn't, all right. So where were we? Your father figure, your professional father figure. So you're at that point. So let's get back to when your husband talked to you about everything, basically gave you an ultimatum. If he's showing up at work and was like, yo, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Was that your pivot point? Was that when you chose to do something different?
Yes, it was. And that something different was leaving everything that I knew for the past 5 years. I grew up in a military family. Military was my whole life. And to know that I was going to leave the military for good was hard for me because I knew nothing but it. But I knew if I stayed in that environment, it wouldn't get better. And I did the process to get out. And I can honestly say it was the best decision for me. Doesn't mean it made life easier immediately, but it gave me that focal point of like highlighting what's important in my life other than the military, you know? There were so many goals and dreams and aspirations that I had before the military, going to nursing school, being a great mom, pageantry was one of them. I couldn't do those things while I was in the military, or the military made it really hard to do those things. So I got out and I said, well, those dreams that I used to have, I'm at a better state and I want to make those dreams possible. And I'm going to do whatever I can to not give up on those and teach other veterans struggling with mental illness, teach my children by leading by example, being that role model, showing them that things are possible when living with mental illness. But getting out was just, I can't imagine what would have happened if I would have stayed in.
So have you gotten the help you needed to get you right?
Yes and no. Okay. And here's the thing. And I'm going to be honest, I don't want to crush the VA healthcare system.
I will.
Okay. Well, let's be honest. They have not really done much for me. I went to the Omaha VA and I wasn't at my worst, but I knew I needed help.
Yeah.
And my provider was a no-show, no-call for me. I sat there for 3 hours waiting for this provider because a lot of people know you won't go to a provider. But the second that you decide to make that appointment and commit, it's now or never. Mm-hmm. And that's how it's always been for me. And that person was a no-show. And it took everything to get a hold of that person. And I think it was 2 weeks later, I finally called them. They finally answered. They were like, oh, I was about to call you. I was like, no, bitch, you were not. Like, don't play. And that was that moment where I was like, this is why people are killing themselves. And people don't get the treatment that they need. God forbid I was someone who was suicidal. What would have happened? The same thing that has happened to hundreds and hundreds of our brothers and sisters in VA parking lots.
Or in the hospital.
Where you're supposed to feel safe, where you're supposed to get the help, but they don't give it to you. But yeah, our brothers and sisters aren't getting the help that they need, and they're taking their lives. But when I moved, I thought maybe I had a better opportunity here in Florida to get the help that I needed. And it wasn't serious. It was just, I wanted to do the right thing for me. And it's have those monthly mental health appointments. But what people don't realize is sometimes it can be traumatic to do a startup appointment. You're giving them your whole life story. You're talking about each and every single trauma you've ever experienced. And that's not easy. For me, doing that startup appointment is traumatic. And the reason why I bring this up is because I've had 3 different providers within a span of 6 months. And I was saying before, and the reason why I felt so adamant about getting these appointments is because my close friend took his life, and I felt like my world was rocked. And the reason is I noticed that he liked something on my Instagram profile, and I told myself, I haven't talked to this person in years. But I don't know if I should reach out and say, hey, how's it going? Because I liked him at a point in time, and I was like, is that appropriate to just reach out and say, hey? And then a week later, he took his life. And in my mind, and some people go through this, and it doesn't mean it's the reason, but I was like, if I could have just said, hey, how's it going? And he would have opened up, would the same thing have happened? And I took it so hard because I've been an advocate for 6 years for mental health. I preach and preach and preach. Like, say hey to your funny friends, check on the funny guy, check on the people you haven't heard. And I felt like I let somebody down, and that was tough. And I couldn't live with that. It didn't mean I was contemplating or anything. It just meant I needed help because I couldn't get through that. So I took these appointments, and I was switched providers 3 times. To go through your story 3 separate times, I was done. I haven't seen a provider since because I just couldn't. I didn't have the heart to talk about what I had been through. It was traumatic, and it just leaves you on this sinking feeling for days after the appointment. And I just didn't want to do that again. And I'm at the point where, I can be honest, I should see a mental health provider. It's been a year. Yeah. I need a good sit down, talk about the things I've gone through, the stressors of nursing school, still adapting to this civilian life. It's still hard. And it's good to see a provider, but I don't want to at this point because I don't want to tell my story all over again. And that's the hardest part of making that commitment, saying, I'm going to go, I'm going to tell my story. This is the last time I'm going to have to do that. Right. But is it? I don't want to have to do this again.
But go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
But there's so many people who experience the same thing, and they're not getting the help because of the switch of providers and just not enough providers. It's a lot.
I will tell you this. I just real quick, I went to the VA, and there are some good things about the VA. I'm not going to, it's not all bad. Unfortunately, the bad stuff covers all that up.
Absolutely.
I've seen a lot more bad than good, but hey, I'll give them props. They do have some good stuff.
Yeah.
My mental health provider, they outsourced, so I got to see a civilian provider, and it was
fantastic.
Yeah, and it was like, thank you. And same thing, right? You cultivate that relationship, and then January 1st of 2021, she got dropped because the VA apparently updated some paperwork that kicked her out of network.
That's horrible.
So here's the shitty part, and we'll get back to your story, but I want people to know this. I go to make an appointment. She's like, hey, I'm not in your network anymore. The VA needs to update some paperwork because they did something. All right, I call the VA. They're like, well, you need to tell your healthcare. I'm like, no, I'm not playing the middle guy here. You need to call. Y'all need to talk to each other. So for months, 5, 6 months, it was like this, like you needed to, it was just like a shit show. In meantime, I'm not getting help.
Yeah.
And then come to find out recently when I went to my PCP, she's like, mental health, they said you don't need it anymore because you haven't been going. I'm like, what? I'm like, you guys, y'all did this. Like, what are you talking about? Because I really like my therapist, believe it or not. And you get so deep with this person, you have this trust, and it's like, man, now I don't have to talk about my story all over again because we've already gotten past that. Now we're getting, deeper into the onion. So that was my experience, and I'm like, well, shit, where do I go? And
that's the worst.
I know, so I have to go back. But with that, I say that because I get what you're saying. It's I'm to the point where I can share my story like a freaking chatty Cathy, if you will. But it took a long time to get there.
Yeah.
So I would just encourage you to keep up and do what you got to do that you need to do when you're ready.
It's the hardest part. It's the hardest part. I've been sitting on this forever, and I'm just like, oh, do I want to go do this again? And I know it'll be well worth it. Trust me, I know it'll be well worth it. But it's just the same thing other people feel is, are they going to let me down again?
So So what would you tell your best friend if she came to you saying this very same thing? What would you tell her?
I'd be like, just do it. Like, it's just once, just do it.
Just do it.
And my husband has been like, Bliv, it's not that hard. Like, you got this. Like, you're strong. You can talk to hundreds and thousands of people about your story. You can do this. Like, you have conquered so much in your life.
Yeah.
You can overcome just 45 minutes. You can do it.
You can do it.
But then there's that little voice that's like, I don't want to do it. I'm so nervous. I'm so scared. And that's the hardest part about it. It's just getting over that fear of the other things that have happened,
Yeah, I get it.
We'll do it. I'll do it.
I'd like for you to follow up with us and let us know, just like, hey, I did it, or I've got it scheduled, or just do something. I
know, right?
Like, we'll do it right now. We'll put it on the calendar.
I should practice what I preach, really.
Well, I get it. And guys, we all do it. We all freaking do it. And anybody that says that they don't, they're lying. They're lying. So thank you for saying that, because I don't think that's a humble pie right there. That's a big piece of humble pie.
Yeah, it is. It's hard to admit that, especially when you're somebody and people are like, wow, look at her. She's a mental health hero. She does all these things. People say all these nice things about me, and little do they know.
Yeah.
I mean, they know.
But you know what you just did? You took off that mask.
True. Yeah.
And I'm not saying that you wear a mask all day, every day. I'm not. But when you're in the spotlight and people see you, it's easy to be like, hey, look at me. I do this. You should do that. And then it's like, well, shit, what about me? So
that's true.
That was pretty damn vulnerable what you just did.
Oh, thanks.
I mean, I got to give you credit. I want to celebrate these little victories because it's not easy. It's not easy.
It's not. So that was really hard to be honest about too, because let me tell you, trying to make a mental health appointment for me is like, it's like pulling out teeth.
Yeah.
Let's be real. It's pulling out teeth. My husband is like begging me to like, just go get seen. And it's not like I'm at a place where I'm just like, I'm struggling so bad. Taking time for your mental health is the best thing that you can do for your mind. Going seeing a therapist it's the icing on the cake. There's nothing better than doing that, even if it means like having to get through this hard stuff. But like my husband's been dying for me to do that, and I'm just like, oh,
it's like exercise, like Taya. We were fortunate to have Taya Kyle on a while back, and she said,
watched it last week.
Her story. I mean, everybody knows her husband's story, and her. And I was like, what can I ask her that hasn't already been asked? And she said something that resonated, basically saying, with the military, they train us to be physically ready. Get up, do PT, whatever have you. You have all this fitness tests. Like, you have to be physically ready to rock. She's like, if we do that, why, if they can do that for your physical health, why can't they do that for your mental health?
Exactly.
And I was like,
and
dude,
yes, the programs that they have, and they try. They have resilience training. I think we do every 6 months, but they shoot this PowerPoint to us, and we are sitting there, death by PowerPoint.
Death by PowerPoint, yeah.
Maybe like if you're in for 4 years, this is the 8th time you've seen it. Like, it's nothing new, and it's not serious. We don't, in the military, we don't take mental health as serious as it needs to be. And that's the truth. They'll make sure you pass height and weight for sure. But will they make sure that you can pass like a mental health appointment? No, they're not worried about that. And I'm proof that they're not worried about it. They did it to me, but they were so worried about, am I making height and weight? Let's, like, as an organization, let's do better, Army. Let's do better, everybody.
And like I told a buddy of mine, Dan Lombardo, with one tribe, I was like, dude, what about these guys with top secret clearances who can't talk about their stuff with a normal provider? They can't do it. What do we do? And he basically said it has to start from the top. It has got to start from the top. And there's just so much around that. So I think we can all agree that there is a problem. But I will say, since 2003, kind of aging myself. God, I would have hit 19 years. Next month would have been 19 years I'd been enlisted. Holy crap.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
I was in, like, I think the 4th grade or something.
Stop it. Stop it. But I will say that it has gotten better. Because unfortunately, because we are losing 22 a day and more, probably more than likely more because of this pandemic and all this other crap, not just with veterans, but first responders, our frontline medical workers, our civilians, our kids, our children,
They're struggling. Yeah.
It's like, the want to have a quote unquote normal conversation is like, hey, how you feeling? Man, I'm not good. Really? Yeah, man, I've been thinking about suicide. That is weird to a lot of people. That's not normal, quote unquote normal.
Absolutely.
The goal is to get those types of conversations to that normal.
You are speaking out of my book. That's what I always say. And when people ask, in pageantry, I talk about mental illness, but pageantry is like that weird world where saying the word mental illness has that negative connotation. And my husband, we go through these interview questions. We do interview, and he's like, maybe don't say mental illness. And like, my heart was like on fire. I was like, no, I'm going to say mental illness, whether they like it or not, because we need to erase that negative connotation, that stigma behind the word mental illness. It's ridiculous. That makes people feel weird. But I always say, the more that you talk about it, the more that you're open about it, that's when things change. And depression, within the last 10 years, talking about depression has been easier. I remember bringing up depression to my mother. My mother is just the sweetest person in the world. But she is from that generation. You bring up depression, she's like, you're not depressed. You just need to pray. And that's how she was for a long time. But now I bring up depression to my mom, and it's been 10 years. And she was like, I know that you have it. And I've struggled with it too. And I'm like, what? Who is this woman? But like, the world has gotten easier and more adapted to talking about depression in general. But why can't we do that about suicide? It's a huge issue. We got to talk about it to end it.
Yeah, the whole and there's so many stigmas around it, and it's like, man, if your brother, your sister, your family member, it's like if they committed, then all of a sudden you're outcast as a family, and there's all this like imagery bullshit, if you will, around it, and it's like, bro, I don't care about your image. I care if you're hurting or not.
Yeah.
Because if you stuff it and you don't want to talk about it, like, how can you honor their legacy even though they chose to do it? And I used to think it was a very selfish act. I used to think it. I'm like, that's selfish. I used to, until it was me. And at the end of the day, it's like, you just want the pain to stop.
Absolutely.
You don't question who loves you. I mean, there's all this, like, you want help, but you push people away. You want help, but you keep pushing people away. It's like one of these, right? And you just want the pain to stop.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to get off my soapbox. I don't know where I was going with that. All I know is like the topic for discussion about that is getting better. And I'm so happy about that. But we got to keep pushing because we're nowhere near cracking that egg. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I will tell you this. Where are you at now with everything though? I know we just talked about how, you know, you were seeing a provider, but now you're not, and that limbo mode, which I appreciate you saying that. So what are your goals for this next year? Let's say around that more in particular.
I mean, I have big goals in general. I'm a goal-driven person. It's not in front of me, but I have this silly book. Maybe this is it. Yep. This Britney Spears book. Yeah. Okay. It's my favorite book. I don't write anything in it. You better work. And it has my goals for this year. And I wrote down 3 huge goals. I'm not going to share all of them because some of them are super, super secretive.
Got it.
And my family would just like lose their minds if they knew it. But I put down these goals, and when I think about and I look at these goals, it reminds me that I need to make sure that I'm healthy all around to achieve these goals. As far as my mental health goals for this year there's a lot of, I struggle with lack of self-care. I'm always thinking about the people around me, especially as somebody in the healthcare field. I'm finishing up nursing school. I'm constantly thinking about the people I care for. I'm constantly thinking about my family, my daughters. Do they know that they're loved? Do they know that they're appreciated? Is my oldest getting the time that she needs to make sure she's studying? Is my husband happy? My husband's been through a lot this past year. What am I doing to ensure that his mental health is up? And that was a huge thing for me. If we can backtrack a little bit, my husband went through a little bit of a traumatic year. He lost his father. And that was really, really hard for everybody. And my husband is my mental health rock. He is the reason why I'm here today. He's the reason why when I am in desperate need of help, I absolutely get it, because my husband has been just that backbone for me. And now my husband's going through something and I have to be the backbone from him. Like, what the hell? Like, you're my backbone. Like, it's just one of those moments. So I'm constantly thinking, am I being the best wife I can be? Am I telling him you can do this? Am I ensuring that he's getting the attention that he needs to get better? But that goes back to, where's the time for self-care for me? This year, I want to make sure I'm caring for myself more. I want to make sure that I'm taking that time out of the day to reflect, to make sure that I'm being easy on myself, not being so self-critical. And definitely every year I struggle. There's always that time where we call it our live day. Like our rebirth day. And for those who don't know, that's kind of the anniversary of your suicide attempt. And that day, it's been easier for me as years go by, but it doesn't mean that I don't think about it. I think last year I completely forgot about it. And I was like, wow, I survived this day. But that's usually my darkest point of the year is November 15th, 16th. And that's really hard, especially when it's so close to the holidays. But being able to, this year, I want to get through that again and act like it's just not another day. Like, it's just another day. It's not something. But my mental health goals are just so important to me. And I just want to get stronger and stronger so I can be the person that makes the difference, be that role model for others, practice what I preach this year, but yeah.
I'd say you're practicing what you're preaching.
I think you are. I think so. But there's that big thing is I'm always like, you need help, reach out. Not saying I absolutely need help. But I'm a person that lives with mental illness, and it's important. It's very important for me to go get the help that I need, have that checkup. So I do it in different ways, but I think for me personally, I should go see a therapist. Like everyone should. But like I said, just that experience of not getting the help that I needed is really, really making me not want to go. But there's other ways to find that light, find that help through different resources, or knowing what your coping mechanisms are, knowing what makes you happy, what like sparks joy in you, as Marie Kondo would say. But yeah,
I'd say it's more about maintenance.
Oh.
It's, you go to therapy, it's like, oh, I'm effed up. No, dude, it's just maintenance. If you do maintenance on your vehicle, why can't you do maintenance on you?
Yeah.
You do an oil change, pump some good gas, do this, get a little tune
We do
up.
the once a year physical appointment for the VA, our annuals. We got to do some type of mental health. Oh yeah, that's great.
Those are fun.
My knee hurts another year. Shocker.
I'm like, I just had mine. We're good. No, but I agree. And I'm in the same boat. I'm like, man, we've got this platform. We've got big things in store for this year. And people may see me as the face of whatever, hopefully it's good. If it's bad, whatever, I can't control that. But it's more of like, I had a panic attack a few months ago, and I remember I hadn't had one like that in a very long time. And I have my resources. I had a good friend right across the hall. I was surrounded by help. Awesome. And I was like, I don't want it. It was like, I tried to go take some steps, and then I was like, go back and breathe. Get that. It was so weird. And yet here we are. We have all these amazing resources. So it's hard, but it's, it's not a death sentence.
Yes, absolutely.
It's not.
And that's what I think one of the biggest things I like to show people is that living with mental illness, surviving a suicide attempt, and what I do now, my goal in life is just to show people that mental illness doesn't have to put a damper on your life. Doesn't have to put a damper on your goals, on your career. One thing that I heard a lot from people who were the older generation was that having mental illness somewhere in my medical records will stop me from having a good career, stop me from being a nurse. How can you be a nurse if you have depression? Well, I do it. I mean, and guess what? That just means I have to get the extra attention. I'm not at the point where I need the extra attention. I'm still at the end of nursing school, but I can see where a nurse would need the attention, especially with COVID. You can live a happy, fulfilled life living with mental illness, because I do. And I want people to see that too. Just because this is a part of your life doesn't mean your life is over.
Right.
There's so much you can do, and it's beautiful on the other side.
Have you ever heard of the term Kansugi?
Nope.
I think I'm saying that right. Kansugi. It's a Japanese practice. I'm pretty sure of it, where they'll take a broken piece of like vase, and then they'll put it back together with gold. They put it back together to show that although it was once broken, now it's even more beautiful.
I love
it. It means more. It has more value.
I love that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna write that down.
It's Kansugi, and I may have just butchered the entire definition, but you get where I'm going with that, right?
I got it.
And
I got it.
I like to tell people I'm not broken. I'm mended.
Yeah,
I really am, and it's. I ain't perfect, and I am perfectly imperfect, and I love that. And what you see is what you get, and I hope people see that in you and believe in your mission just as much as I believe in your fight, because we're all in this together. And I saw that you are an ambassador for Mission 22.
I am. Yeah, I've been an ambassador since, maybe 2017 ish. I love Mission 22. Mission 22 is incredible. And it was just one of those moments where I was like, oh my gosh, there's more than just me who finds this important. And I feel like I've done so many awesome things through that nonprofit. And I got to meet so many incredible people. And my favorite part is Florida's big with Mission 22. Sometimes I'll drive around and I'll see Jeeps that have like the Mission 22 logo. And I'm like, go. Yeah. And they're like, who the hell is this girl? And I'm like, hey, I'm in Mission 22 as well. And they're like, okay, creep. I get excited because it's really just, it's an army in itself of loving, wonderful people who want to make a difference in the lives of veterans. And one thing is people, they have this kind of like exhibit, if you will, but it's of these iron silhouettes, and they're all over the United States, and they're usually in places where that particular person is from, and they're all silhouettes of people who have taken their lives. And there's 22 of them, and one of them happened to be in Omaha, and I had the opportunity to go see Mission 22's work in living color. It was the most incredible and honestly tear-jerking moment that I've had in a long time, because it was just like, wow, this is a human who is gone, but like, look at how much this organization has done.
Yeah.
And we just had just the incredible opportunity to have one so close to me. It was just really cool. Mission 22 is really saving lives, providing free resources, free supplements. I could talk about them all day. They're incredible.
Well, I will definitely put their link down below in the comments as well.
They're wonderful.
We'll totally do that. And maybe we can get them on the show down the road.
Yeah, they would love that.
Maybe if you get that set up, maybe I can get you and one of their reps on for a podcast.
Yeah, I can totally do that. They would love that. There's so much to Mission 22 that is just lying deep down in there. There's so many resources that they can point you out to. Equine therapy or equestrian therapy. I can't even say it. The horse therapy. They have people who they will train a service animal for you.
That's awesome.
Just amazing resources that veterans otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity to find if it wasn't just presented to them. So it's incredible. I can talk about that all day.
I love that. See, I'm in DFW, and we have a huge amount of amazing nonprofits for veterans and first responders. And
such a wonderful place to be as a veteran.
Yeah.
DFW. Yes. So many friends are out there. Well, Texas kind of rules when it comes to loving on their vets. Trust me. I'm originally from New Braunfels, Texas.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, they love their vets.
Yeah, they do. And I gotta be honest with you, I'm not a fan of Florida, but I think I like Florida now that I've interviewed you a little bit. Maybe like 1%.
Yeah. I have like a love-hate relationship with Florida. I was actually born and raised in like Hawaii. So this is as close to getting to Hawaii as I can without paying a ton of money to live there. But we love our veterans here too. We have the third largest veteran population, and it's really open arms when it comes to vets.
Awesome. That's good to know. Yeah. Okay, so maybe instead of 1%, maybe it's now at 2% that I like Florida.
It's not too bad.
I don't know, man.
We know the reasons why it's pretty tough, but if you just kind of blind eye that, everything else is great. Pretend it never happened.
Gosh. Well, Bliven, I got to tell you, thank you so very much for being on today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. And if your listeners can take anything out of this, I hope that they take just this one thing that I tell everybody is find that light, no matter what it is. Find something to be grateful for in your day, even if it means like you got 2 seconds of quiet in your closet while you were getting dressed this morning. You had your cup of morning coffee, because having that gratitude for something, it builds and builds and builds, and it grows. And you'll find that light. You just got to push through it and be open and honest with yourself. So find it, because you and I have found it. And I mean, look where you are. You have this incredible podcast, some fantastic people. And I feel like I'm the best person that I have ever been. And I'm so proud of me today. And other people can do that too. So
I like that. I like that a lot. And you definitely practiced what you preach, meaning being open and honest. So thank you for being very gut level honest about where you're at right now. And
I love it.
I freaking love that.
Yeah. Well, if it means saving lives, changing the world, I'll do anything to make living with mental illness easy for anybody.
God,
because it was tough on me.
You're making me cry over here, damn it.
Oh my gosh. I'm not allowed to cry because I have bottom mascara on today. So it's unacceptable for me.
It's always acceptable. Just get the waterproof. You adapt.
I know. Right?
No, seriously though, like that's the thing. It's giving people that safe place And I always say that, but like, what does that look like? Well, here, this is what it looks like. This is what a safe place looks like. It's like, yeah, we look like we have our shit together, but we really don't. But we're not afraid to talk about it. And we're not afraid to love you where you're at and in a safe place, a non-judgmental place. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The joke in pageantry is everyone wants a world peace, but there's nothing I want more than like for people to have that inner peace within themselves. So, I mean, saying world peace isn't wrong as a pageantry question, but I don't know. I feel like if other people gave out the energy that I did when I needed it, boy, that would have been so much easier. And now I have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
And that's all I want to do is make life easier for those experience the same things as me.
I love it. Well, stick with us. I'm not going to get off with you just yet, but I'm going to get off with my listeners. Cool?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, thank you again for so much for being here. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, all right, guys. Well, there you have it. That was Miss Bliven Roman. And like I said, if y'all like what y'all are hearing, subscribe, hit the bell notification. I guess that's like a thing or something for YouTube. I don't know, but apparently that's like a good thing. So if y'all can make good things happen for us, that'd be amazing. But y'all stay tuned because these stories are getting deeper and deeper and the resources are getting better and better. And we can't do this without you. So with that, I love you guys. Subscribe, check out the links below, and we will talk to you later.